So if you clicked on this video, you probably already know what iCarly is, but if you don't, iCarly was a teen sitcom by Dan Schneider that aired on Nickelodeon between 2007 and 2012. Throughout its run, the show told the story of Carly Shay, a high schooler who becomes an internet celebrity after creating her very own web show, the titular iCarly. Carly ran the show with her two best friends, Sam, the rough but good-hearted one who was the show's co-host, and Freddie, a tech nerd with a secret crush on Carly who was the show's producer. Carly also lived with her older brother Spencer, an eccentric artist with an unfortunate habit of setting things on fire.
Now if you hit that button, you'll hear a real car horn.
Okay.
While the show had mostly okay reviews by critics, who always have the best takes, iCarly went on to become one of the most popular shows ever aired on Nick. It was fun, and it dipped into the territory of internet fame pretty early on for a mainstream TV series. YouTube itself had just started only a year beforehand, and the word influencer hadn't even been invented yet. Each episode dealt with things that come with being an internet celebrity in high school, with a few mini arcs thrown in from time to time. The series officially ended with the episode titled I Goodbye, in which Carly leaves Seattle and iCarly to go live with her dad in Italy. Immediately following this, Jeanette McCurdy would team up with Ariana Grande, who had been starring as Cat Valentine in another Dan Schneider show called Victorious, to make a crossover series called Sam and Cat. Now, to be honest, I never really watched much of Sam and Cat personally because it always felt like Nick trying to milk the popularity of Victorious and iCarly rather than make a proper show all its own. And this is apparently what everyone else felt like too, seeing as the show was canceled after just one season and 36 episodes. After this, Ariana Grande would go on to be, well, Ariana Grande, and Jeanette, after a few projects here and there over the years, would eventually retire altogether from acting.
People often ask me how to find out what's new to watch on Netflix. We're always adding more. New releases, TV shows, hidden gems, classic movies, plus Netflix originals like Lilyhammer and House of Cards.
The original run of iCarly ended in 2012, the same year that many would consider to be the golden age of Netflix. In 2012, Netflix was the undisputed king of streaming services. In 2007, they began licensing movies and TV shows from major studios and then streaming that content directly to consumers via the internet, a business model that was practically unheard of at the time. By 2012, Netflix's streaming library contained a massive 10,000 titles, and with a price tag of only $7.99 a month, it was incredibly successful. Maybe even too successful. Over the next few years, major companies would take note of all the money in the streaming industry, and one by one would begin to pull their content from Netflix in favor of starting their own services. This eventually led to Paramount, the parent company of Nickelodeon, to announce their own streaming service, Paramount Plus. There is a formula to success when launching your own streaming service. After all, when so many people already have a service, how can you convince them to add yet another subscription to their ever-growing list of monthly charges? Usually this comes in the form of having some flagship feature or exclusive content only accessible on that service. Netflix did this with Orange is the New Black and House of Cards. Hulu has The Handmaid's Tale, and Amazon Prime has The Boys and Invincible. In Paramount's case, they're actually owned by Viacom, who are definitely not evil, and they own Nickelodeon, CBS, Showtime, and a bunch of other networks that are pretty familiar to anyone under the age of like 30. So cool, they basically already had a built-in library of nostalgic content for millennials and Gen Z. Holy shit, they got Avatar: The Last Airbender up here. Now you just need the exclusive content. This new need for content would manifest in the form of a reboot of the Rugrats, a prequel series to the SpongeBob SquarePants series called Camp Coral, and the 2021 reboot of iCarly. Honestly, I think iCarly was one of the best decisions they could have possibly given a sequel series too. I said it before, but when the show first aired, the whole internet fame thing was a new concept, but the internet, its content, and its creators have matured in the past 10 years, and I think it's a really interesting idea to explore how the characters grew up in such an environment. I'm not gonna lie, when I first started watching the reboot, everything just felt surreal. It didn't help that everyone on the show looked exactly the same. No, seriously, no one aged at all, except Freddie, who now has a 5 o'clock shadow and the emo Spider-Man haircut. I feel like they needed to have the cast look different somehow to illustrate that this is a new show, and since Sam was out, then your only option would be to either give Miranda Cosgrove a pixie cut or have one of the guys grow a beard, and I guess Nathan volunteered for that one. Most of the characters remain much the same as they were in the original series. Carly is still a good-hearted but meddlesome internet celebrity. Spencer is still an eccentric artist, but he's rich now, so there's that. By far, the character with the most changes to their personality would have to be Freddie. In the original show, he's a nerdy tech guy who simps for Carly for 3 seasons, and now he's a twice-divorced tech bro dad with an inclination towards technology. And it's kind of awesome.
Who's ready to get cranked?
Freddie is by far the best part about the reboot, and Nathan Kress's performance was always on point. You can really feel how much fun he had with the character. Speaking of great characters, we have to talk about Harper. Harper is Carly's BFSS, best friend since Sam, according to her. She's an aspiring fashion designer who starts the series off working at Skybucks, the Bobo version of Starbucks. Though at times her character can feel like a walking stereotype for black people and every Twitter SJW ever, I honestly found her to be a great addition to the show. She's fun, she's quirky, and she's canonically a furry, which I find absolutely hilarious.
Ooh, y'all doing like a furry thing.
Yep.
No. Don't worry, I'm not here to kink shame your persona.
Lacey Mosley really did a great job with her portrayal, and the energy she brings really complements the show. Another new major character is Millicent, Freddie's adoptive 11-year-old daughter. She takes after Sam in many ways, mostly in the mischievous department, but she's still very much her own unique character and not a replacement in any way. Her relationship with Freddie is interesting in that Freddie mostly acts like a babysitter to her rather than her dad, but I guess learning to be a father is his character arc. I feel like the inclusion of this character was mostly so that younger audiences who never got to watch the original iCarly will have someone to relate to in the show. Something I feel like won't get talked about enough is just how fantastic the production design was throughout. You can tell the design team had a great time and put a lot of heart into everything that they made. There's an episode where Spencer gets an exhibit in a museum and he decides to base it on toxic internet culture, and it's actually pretty cool. I can see myself visiting it in real life, even if it is a bit phone bad boomery. The costume design is also great. As a fashion designer, Harper is constantly creating experimental outfits for herself and the rest of the cast. Even the costumes that only get 30 seconds of screen time, you can see how much heart the costume designers put into every outfit. It's little things like this that tell me that everyone involved in the series had a great time contributing to the project, and that's something you don't always get to see. Being that the target audience of this show is the original audience of iCarly that have since grown up, the 2021 version of iCarly is a more adult-friendly version of the original.
It's like Harper always says, you gotta switch it up on a bitch.
There's swearing, hookups, an episode where Freddie almost had a threesome with Carly and another girl, which he should have totally done, but despite this, the show never really feels like it's trying to be more adult, which is pretty rare for projects like this. It's not like when Miley Cyrus really wanted to break away from her old Hannah Montana persona by being scandalous all the time. Here, everything feels much more natural. In fact, it doesn't even feel like a different show, just another season of iCarly. Even the comedy feels much the same as the original. The writing is clever, fun, surprisingly meta, and has some decently memorable moments. All in all, I really like the new iCarly. I don't think I've just outright enjoyed a TV series like this in a long time. I'm sure I'm very biased because of the nostalgia I had for the original, but I'd imagine that everyone in the target audience is in the same boat. So the show has already been greenlit for a second season, and I'm looking forward to checking it out when it drops. As always, thanks for watching. Consider liking and subscribing. Helps me out, algorithm and stuff. But yeah, hope you have a great day. Catch you later. Bye.